Trump is in Florida at this hour, and he will be getting a first-hand look at the ICE detention center dubbed Alligator Alcatraz. The controversial facility is set up deep in the swamps of the Everglades and has raised the concerns from both environmentalists and human rights advocates who say it is cruel and inhumane. Let's bring in CBS News Justice reporter Jake Rosen. Jake, thank you for joining us today. We know the Trump administration's immigration crackdowns mean more people are getting detained. It's part of why the administration is obviously working to get more detention centers up and running. But is there any legal oversight to these facilities?
Well, one catch here, Mugo, is that this is actually being initiated by Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida and his administration to detain people on behalf of the federal government, which is an unusual thing in itself, but then to also build state-run detention centers. This would be one of them. This would not be handled fully at the federal level, meaning that oversight might be limited. Think about the other high-profile clashes we've seen, and specifically in New Jersey, of federal officials and elected representatives going in to conduct oversight, which they're allowed to do. This would kind of, A, because of the location, which means attorneys might not be able to get there easily, but B, because this would be run by the state, would kind of add a caveat to what kind of federal, A, expectations and laws would need to be followed, but B, the oversight. In addition to that, obviously there are numerous concerns about the environmental impacts of this, in addition to the humanitarian impacts of this, given it is on a remote island in a national park, which is usually used for tourism.
Right. I actually didn't even think about how lawyers can get to their clients, anyone who's trying to get information about what comes next in their case. Good point there that you just mentioned. So immigration advocates, they are already raising concerns over this facility. So what legal challenges does it currently face?
Well, we have not seen any kind of major lawsuits on the immigration front. There is one on the environmental front, which we'll talk about in just a second. But you have to think about what this looks like. They're putting up temporary housing on a remote island in a place where it is often in this time of year and through the fall at risk of hurricanes and in very hot temperatures. They're going to be using, there's no real clear plan of exactly what's going to happen, what this looks like as they scale up from just a couple of thousand people to potentially about 5,000 people. But you have to remember mobile air conditioning units. What happens if one of those breaks? What happens if a storm comes in and a hurricane develops at the last second? It looks like, as we've seen from the White House and the Florida elected officials and Ron DeSantis' administration, touting the use of this place because it would potentially, as the name implies, make a riskier exit if somebody were to try to break free. Obviously, you have to escape through predator-infested waters, not just from alligators, but from snakes and other wildlife. I think you just have to remember this is a unique situation in which they're building something kind of a pop-up on a tarmac, which, yes, planes can fly to and take off from, but there really is, it's not clear exactly how this would work and whether people are going to, A, be safe there, and B, get the rights that are afforded to them under U.S. law.
Right, Jake. So many questions about this. Yesterday, we also heard from attorneys for the state of Florida after environmental groups tried to block the facility from opening. What is the latest on that front?
Yeah, and this site was actually developed and meant to be developed to be one of the largest airports in Florida in the 1960s, and it was paused because an environmental impact review that was done after this site was purchased was basically said that any kind of movement there and development would not just destroy the Everglades National Park, but would destroy the entire ecosystem in South Florida. There's a lawsuit that is currently underway. There has been no stop of this development yet, but there's an environmental group that hopes to pause this and force an environmental review and a public comment section so that people can opine about what they want to see in this place, whether they want to see this detention center continue or to be paused. And there are also concerns from indigenous groups in the region. As we know, there are many in southern Florida who say that this land is sacred. It should have never been developed into a training landing strip for planes in the first place, and now putting migrants here and using deportations out of this place is unsacred and defiling their land. So certainly a number of fronts, and as we kind of see this site officially be put in use today, as President Trump is down there with Ron DeSantis and Kristi Noem, there'll certainly be more challenges, and it's something to keep an eye on going forward.
All right, CBS News Justice reporter Jake Rosen, thank you so much for your reporting. Appreciate that. We want to take you live right now to Florida, though, because CBS News national correspondent Manuel Bojorquez is outside the facility, and protesters have gathered out there. Manny, I can hear them chanting. What are you seeing there?
That's right. We've got Trump supporting, I should say, on this side over here, trying to get the right side. And then a bigger camp that has shown up to protest against this facility open up. And I apologize if I got my sides wrong, but this is the bigger group, and they are against this facility on several grounds. They say that they consider it inhumane to be opening something so remote and with so many hazards around, potentially alligators, etc., but also because of the environmental impacts, as you were talking about. It was just a few hours ago that we actually saw an alligator, and the water is not far from where these protesters are right now. There is that pending lawsuit saying that potential runoff or exhaust from an operation this big, potentially thousands of people being held here, could be detrimental to the environment. But the president's here, the governor here, they are saying they're going through with this regardless of these lawsuits that are pending, regardless of the protests that are happening outside. They say that this facility is necessary in order to carry out that goal of mass deportations. And the supporters here see it as something that is efficient, because not only do you have the beds, but you have a runway here. And for those deportation flights, the administration and those who support it say this is a very good use of land. Clearly, two very opposing sides here.
Yeah, and real quick, Manny, I know you talked about the Trump supporters being there and also others who are against this. The president arrived earlier with Kristi Noem as well. Did they get a chance to see those protesters outside, or did they enter through a different location? I'm not sure if that's something you're even aware of at this point.
No, we understand that the president actually flew Air Force One to the runway that is here. So he would not have come through this road. There's only one way in and out. That's why the protesters are here. But no indication at this point that the president, who's very far deep inside the facility, would even know that these protesters are here.
All right. Manuel Bojorquez, live for us in Florida today. Thank you so much for showing us what's happening.